as things were looking grim for Ipswich in the pouring of rain in the Midlands. It was Marcus Harness who brought the fireworks to Earntown, a dramatic point on the road. This is the Blue Monday podcast. Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, discussing Ipswich Town up or down since 2015. I'm Richard Woodward and I'm delighted to welcome you to the Flagship Show, available live on YouTube every Sunday at 8 p.m. on demand. Can you hear a delay, guys? I'm getting a delay.
I'm getting a bit, yeah.
Technical issues here, guys. I'm going to plow through, though.
I think you're okay now. You come back again.
Sorry, folks. Right, there we go. How about now?
Anyone got Mikey's phone number?
I've been put in charge for the Flagship Show. Ben's away, and I screwed up. I nearly swore there as well. Let's start again. Hello, and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, discussing the town up or down since 2015. This is the Flagship Show. We're available live with better hosts usually every Sunday at 8 o'clock and on demand on video and podcast afterwards. Joining me as we start another 3-game week, Joe Fairs with his pink must have Hladky shirt behind him, and Seb Brown with all kinds of paraphernalia behind him. Gentlemen, how are we doing? I'll start with Seb.
I'm good. Just about dried out after yesterday. Thankfully, it was pretty grim, wasn't it? But yeah, obviously we'll discuss the game, and I'm good. Looking forward to Rotherham on Tuesday night, and then Swansea on Saturday.
Yeah, you've got all three to tick off this week, haven't you? Like proper support and all that kind of stuff. All these membership points ticking up. How are you, Joe? Have you been away for a bit?
Yeah, we just went up to Norfolk for a couple of days. It was nice. I was on Galston Beach when I could hear some booing coming from Carrow Road all the way out there. But I was in a little cafe and you could hear that the locals were grumbling about, they're only signing these players on free transfers because they're not good enough because no one wants them. And it was nice to hear their fan base so rattled.
And all the abuse we got for empty seats when we were struggling, and now there were a lot of people. The attendance today was kind of peak Marcus Evans era. It's 25,000, but it's not 25,000, is it? So we'll talk more about that later on. I think we've got to do that. But let's say hello to folk live in the chat. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Get your views on Birmingham 2, Ipswich Town 2. We've also got a poll, which is what I think caused the technical issue, because I think that was playing in the background. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. We want to know your thoughts on whether Marcus Harness has deserved to start on Tuesday night or not, or whether you might use him more strategically. So let us know in the poll there, and we'll give that a look later on. But let's say hello to folk who have given us something to read. First off, Darren. Yeah, another great comeback. Evening, guys. Happy with a point. Kirk's here as well. Tough place to go. Yeah, said we were talking about this. It's a grotty place to go and watch football. If you're an away fan, it's a horrible place, isn't it, St Andrews?
It is, isn't it? Yeah, you turned to me about halfway through the first half, didn't you, and said, I'm never coming back here ever again. And I think you summed it up nicely, because it was cold, it was raining, everything was grey. It was horrible, wasn't it? It's not a nice away day.
Yeah, Kirk rightly says, shows how far we've come when an established team run out of legs against us, and more to that point later on, I'm sure. Hello to Lee. Hello to Clinton. Great reading on Wrath of the Viking Pinkin tonight. Yep. We've been there. I think we'll talk more about that, I'm sure, later on. Charlie D's here as well. Nigel, stroke of genius to draw this one, so we didn't go top too early. Manage those expectations. Nigel spot on. Hello to Paul. Hello to Gary. I make Gary murky first off in a murky stadium on a murky day. What last 20 minutes to get an excellent draw. Rob's with us. G'day to Michael Phillips here as well. It is Colin Sam. Good numbers. Our mate Chris from New Zealand is with us as well. Happy with the draw. Ashley's here. Tim is here. Squeaky bum time yesterday. We'll talk more about squeaky bum time maybe at half time, perhaps, Tim. But I think in the end, said probably the right result. Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. We'll discuss it obviously in depth in a minute. I think at half time it was very much kind of, we can't be that bad again in the second half. But by the end of it, I thought there's only one team looking to win it.
Yep. Christian's here. Colin, Paul, Veronica, AD, Skip. Everyone's here. Hope you've stuck around after my crap intro as well. We've got Bob from Nova Scotia, Halifax, Nova Scotia, no less. Horse in Brooklyn. Goodness me, Joe. You've been jet setting this week, but not quite as far as Halifax, Nova Scotia. Maybe a little bit warmer, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah, but I did have the issue where I was sort of like panicking because I wasn't quite ready for the pod. And I was sort of had to say to my wife, take over. I've got to be live to the world in 10 minutes. And I really am live to the world here.
I'm kind of a big deal. Well, we got Andres here from Reykjavik, so I love how people are giving us where they are. If you're in Ipswich, I mean, that's fine as well. Ipswich represented here as well through me and Joe, so that's what we want. Hello, Ulf Romeo, a draw which felt like a win, followed by Naves getting embarrassed on telly. Goodness me, Norwich coming up quite a lot, aren't they? Ed is here. Tommy, blimey, Streaky 94. Is it Bonfire Night at Carrow Road? Or someone might be on the bonfire tonight, perhaps. Got John Fenning, our mate John, is in Carinthia in Austria. Love that as well. Eric, we will definitely talk about this. Dane Scarlett, what a ball to Hutchinson. We will definitely talk about the impact of the substitutes, guys, purely so I can bitch and moan about when Birmingham announced the substitutes to the opposition. And talking of the opposition, God bless him for showing his face. He was giving us the insights on the pre-match show. John, our resident Birmingham City fan. John, great to have you with us as well. Give us your thoughts too, particularly from a kind of a neutral perspective from the other way around. And I'm sure we'll give you our views on Wayne Rooney's Birmingham as well. And let's just finish with this one because it's a bee in my bonnet. Andy Porksmith Oliver, can we call them Birmingham Who from now on? Let's jump straight into it, guys, shall we? We've got plenty of action to talk about. Joe, let's talk about Ipswich and the lineup first of all. 2 changes from the team that beat Plymouth. One kind of a forced change in respect to Brandon Williams being unwell and Harry Clark coming in. Clark obviously played the full game midweek against Fulham, and Cameron Burgess probably unsurprisingly replacing George Edmondson at centre-back. Amari Hutchinson keeps the right wing spot rather than Caden Jackson. Happy with that? Any other thoughts you wanted to share on our lineups?
No, I think the team sort of picks itself, really, doesn't it, at the moment? We knew that Brandon Williams was ill because he'd mentioned it. That's why the bench changed on Wednesday night against Fulham. So no great surprise that after sort of being too ill to be on the bench, sort of 72 hours early, wasn't well enough to start the game there. But yeah, no, I wasn't surprised. The team, I guess the only real yes or no was going to be Caden Jackson or Amari Hutchinson, and I think he went for Hutchinson's craft against them as opposed to Jackson's pace, effectively.
Yeah, and Hutchinson ended up having quite an interesting game, including a first-minute sliding tackle to try and set the tone early, which maybe was a bit foolhardy. Joe, quick shout-out for skipper Sam Morsey. He made his 100th town appearance. That's quite a record, obviously, despite a few suspensions maybe in there, if we dare say that. But sets the level so well, doesn't he, for the team, and a vital player for us.
Yeah, been a brilliant player over his 100 games for us, and it's good. It happened before when sort of Mick came in. We got a few players get to 100 games, and it just hadn't happened for years and years before that because we just changed the squad so often. And now it's happened again, isn't it? Connor Chaplin, Wes Burns, now Sam Morsey get to 100 games. I'm sure there'll be 2 or 3 more following them in sort of upcoming months as well. And it's good that you've got that core of that squad that sort of grows together, knows each other's games, learns to play. And obviously in Sam Morsey's case, leads from the front, leads by example, and is obviously hugely respected by everyone in the squad, and it's just the real heartbeat of the team and the squad, isn't he?
Yeah, and someone who's got a lot of he's from Wolverhampton, I think is where he's from. So probably there's quite a lot of acronym between the teams in the West Midlands. So he would have been definitely enjoying that, and he was cheering the crowd up as well, wasn't he? Second half too. Seb, we were obviously talking about Birmingham City on Thursday. The kind of team lineup that's here, this 4-3-3, wasn't really like that, wasn't it? 4 changes just to quickly talk through. We anticipated one of many insights provided on the excellent pre-match show last week. Ethan Led's return at right back. Cuddy Dramer, who some might remember from the Leeds game, who was subbed off, having come on as a sub. Jay Stansfield, we know about him from Exeter last season, started up front. Koji Miyoshi moved over to left-hand side, and Janini Bakuna came in at right wing, having been suspended. And Seb, it was kind of very compact, but in maybe looked different in different phases of attacking or defending, wasn't it? It was Rooney tried to mix it up a little bit, didn't he?
I think so, yeah. Obviously there it's a 4-3-3 on the screen, but I saw it more of kind of a 4-4-2, almost out of possession, than a 4-3-3 moving forward. Bakuna seemed to have a bit of a license to kind of push forward, and Miyoshi would then drop back slightly on the right-hand side. So I kind of saw them playing compact, and I saw it very much as a 4-4-2 when they were kind of looking to press us, looking to break. And we also saw Drama, the left-back, would kind of step into midfield a bit. We had a lot of space on that right-hand side. We'll discuss whether or not we used it or not, but it looked like they were trying to get an extra man into midfield as well to try and outnumber Morsey and Luongo and stop us from getting a kind of stamp in the middle of the park and kind of running the game from there.
I've just realised I
think you could almost call it a 4-2-4, really, wasn't it? A lot of the time, it was really, really attacking, really pushed on at us.
Yeah, I've realised I got my left and rights wrong because I was looking at the pitch from. Yeah, anyway, we'll move because to that point, Joe, that 4-2-4. I mean, Rooney's strategy, and it come through in a lot of post matches where he'd been quite disappointed with the players not being able to perhaps sustain that high press, the playing out from the back as well. It was clear, Joe, straight away what the strategy was from Birmingham, and it shouldn't really have been a surprise to us either. The high intensity, wasn't it? Start from them.
No, and especially in the conditions that were there, because it does make playing out from the back difficult, because we do rely on a lot of real sort of sharp one-touch passing, and when you're not quite trusting the surface, when the ball's skidding along there, when you've got the strong wind, the rain in your face, because the conditions were awful sort of for the majority of the game, weren't they? And it just kept breaking down, didn't it? And we just kept not being able to get on top of it. And I thought, obviously, he's been superb, but I thought Massimo Luongo really struggled in the midfield, getting on the ball and making things happen, where him and Sam Morsy just totally controlled the games for us. We used to those two controlling the games week in, week out. And I think we saw what happens when one of them is a little bit off it yesterday as well in that regard.
Yeah. We'll talk about the right-hand side maybe in the context of the game at half-time, because Seb and I certainly picked up on something, and maybe we'll come back to that as well. Talk to us about the first goal then, Joe. We'll come to you on this one, because to your point about not being necessarily a game for the passing out from the back, it is a little bit chaotic, isn't it? The whole scene that kind of leads to the goal, and we know Stansfield's quite a nippy player, but there's a lot of jammy moments that lead to this moment, aren't there?
Well, yeah, because it sort of breaks down for us on our left-hand side, doesn't it? And then they sort of pick the ball up and get it quite quickly across to Bacuna, who just drives forward a little bit with it, but he doesn't do a huge amount. And I think Hutchinson maybe needs to go back with him, but doesn't. But ultimately, Harry Clark shows him inside to Wolfie, and he releases a pretty crap shot that that scuffs through, and there's no problem. But Jay Stansfield's alive in the box, does brilliantly, gets across, nips the ball in front, turns sharply and hits the ball. And yeah, there's Leif Davis on the line, Václav Hladký to go through. So it's still one that requires a little bit of luck to avoid the defenders and the goalkeeper there. But no, it's a good sharp piece of thinking at the end of a sort of pretty nothing shot, wasn't it there? And maybe Cameron Burgess needs to be a bit sharper in the box, but is that maybe a bit harsh? But I don't know. It's just one of those. The shot is so bad that it allows it to happen, and you're sort of 1-0 down. And these are the sort of scrappy goals in games like that can sort of really frustrate you. But there's not a massive amount you can do about them.
Seb, you went to Huddersfield. We've got a pretty stunning record away from home in the Championship so far this season, haven't we? But when you concede first, and particularly after you've been under the cosh for quite a while, it did feel like, oh wow, this could be a problem today. Obviously, ultimately, the game changes in our favour late in the second half. But after you've started crappily, you kind of want to see that 0-0 stay there as long as possible. And 15 minutes, is it 14 minutes? It's kind of like, oh man, this could be a long afternoon. And it almost was, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we had a bit of a let-off, didn't we? Bacuna, before the goal, comes forward, gets a shot off that Burgess kind of puts out with his head and goes narrowly past the post. They started really well. They were pressing us. I kind of thought we would look to take control straight away and just kind of turn the crowd almost. You know, if we were playing our natural game, get a few shots off. We know the scenes in the home game where Rooney got booed off, so we know that the crowd would turn quickly if we could kind of make that happen. But we didn't get going at all. I think they deserved the goal on 14. You and me would both agree. We were both there. You know, I thought they deserved that. And that's what like you say, that's what you don't want, because all of a sudden then you've got, you know, the new manager in his fourth game in charge. You've got the crowd up. We haven't started well. It's crap conditions. It's one of those days where you kind of think that things are starting to go against you, but they fully deserved that goal because we didn't get going at all in that first 15, 20 minutes.
Would you argue that the first half was a half of two halves in respect of Birmingham came out all guns blazing, didn't they? Or fireworks blazing, whatever you want to say. After that point, I don't recall a huge amount of clear-cut chances for Birmingham. There's a few moments for us, if you want to kind of mention them. There's a Broadhead moment, a Chaplin moment, isn't there?
Yeah.
But I think it was the story for me, at least, was Town's possession shape wasn't particularly coherent. The ball wasn't sticking with Hurst up front, and Birmingham were just happy to make the game very bitty and scrappy, weren't they? Is that a fair summary of the latter stages of the first half?
I think so, yeah. Sort of 20, 25 minutes, their press kind of dropped noticeably, didn't it? They kind of ran themselves out and tired themselves out. You said about, 10 minutes in, surely they can't keep this up all game. And sure enough, they didn't. And we started to find bits of space. We still weren't really getting our game going, were we? There was some unforced errors. We were putting the ball out of play. We couldn't really get any kind of slick interchange of passing. The Broadhead one, looking back on the highlights, I didn't realise how kind of good an effort it was and how unlucky it was. It's a free kick from Moores that's played in. Burgess knocks it back across. Broadhead's there, finds the space, gets a shot off on his left, and that was closer than I saw it in the away end. And then the Chaplin moment, obviously he'll score one of these at some point this season, I'm sure. That lovely kind of chip shot which Ruddy just about turns over, and that's when we started to find the space because their press had dropped. We had a lot of space on the right hand side. Chaplin kind of came across with Hutchinson and with Clark. I guess that was a tactical switch, but we weren't really utilising the flanks at all, were we? And kind of backed up with Bacuna sticking into central midfield as an extra man, or Drama going in as an extra man. Morsey and Luongo were struggling to control the game, but after 20, 25 minutes, we noticeably got better. I don't think we deserved to go in half-time at 1-1 or anything, but we were noticeably better going into the half-time break after their pressing intensity dropped.
Yeah, Joe, we've talked quite often on the pod about the summer recruitment and clearly going for another striker and perhaps not happening. George Hurst yesterday, it didn't feel like perhaps a game for him. Maybe I'm being critical. A few moments where he can take the pressure off, poor control, when he could be sprung through, miscontrol, and kind of almost kicks out for a goal kick. Was it just an off day for Hurst, or maybe was there a strategy by Birmingham, or were we just leaving him too isolated? What's your take on the George Hurst performance yesterday?
I think probably a combination of all those factors, really, in that in a game like that, when you are struggling to play out, when the ball goes into him, you need it to stick a bit to try and relieve a bit of pressure, but it just didn't stick. His touch was loose. He was doing a lot of running. He was getting into places, but he was offside a few times across the whole game, maybe 4 times in the game, which is just frustrating. You're sort of working so hard to get it up to him, and then it was just coming straight back every time. And I don't think he had a lot of help, and I think he could have done with a bit more help than what he has, but it just wasn't his day. And I think I was surprised he stayed on as long as he did. I thought it was one where you just, after half-time, it's like, just go and run yourself into the ground for 15 minutes, and then we'll give Freddie a chance to see if anything different happens from there. Would have been my thoughts on it. No, it was just an off day for him, I think, really. But he still put the effort in. He still tried. He still worked hard. He still pushed their defenders about and battered them about, which probably helped us later in the game. The sort of physical battle he had with Sanderson, especially. Those things maybe go a little bit unnoticed, but I'm sure they're important in the grand scheme of things in the game.
That's a great shout. And your reflection at halftime as well, Joe. What kind of things were you looking to change or for McKenna to tweak at halftime for second half?
I didn't expect us to do much differently. I just thought that, I don't know, it sounds a bit silly, but just trying to be a bit better, being a bit less loose with the ball at times. And I think Mickey Stockwell was making a good point on the commentary when I watched it back. Effectively, we struggled because we were struggling to build up any pressure because there was too many loose passes and things like that. So when you feel like you're sort of getting them a little bit under the cosh, all of a sudden someone would give the ball away, and it doesn't just relieve the pressure there, it also gives them that little bit of a lift that you kept it going. I know it almost seemed like in cricket where if you bowl a couple of maidens in a row, you keep the batsman under pressure, but all of a sudden you just bowl a dolly up and get hit for 4, and all of a sudden it just takes all the pressure off the other team. And it seemed like we were doing that a little bit, just a loose pass here, a loose pass there, probably from players you wouldn't expect it from as well.
And Seb, this McKenna came. I'm about to borrow Sebism. McKenna comes out at the end of the game and says that he was very happy with the second half performance. Did you see much change in intensity at the start of the first half before we unfortunately go down 2-0?
Obviously, it's only 5 minutes before the second goal. I thought we started the half much better. I thought we were kind of quicker with our passing. I thought we looked more direct, and we kind of Chaplin gets in behind. We were finding that space again as we were kind of towards the end of the first half, and that their goal obviously comes from Chaplin's in behind, possibly a handball when he's trying to control it. He gets the cross to the back post. Hurst is there to knock the ball down to the penalty spot, but no one's there. It's a up and under from the defender.
That moment, should Hurst go for goal and be more selfish?
Potentially, maybe, especially considering it's obviously Chaplin's put the cross in, so I'm not sure who's he expecting to make that late run into the box. But yeah, by all means, you're a striker, you're there to score the goals, try and get something on target at least and see what happens. But it's an up and under from the defender, isn't it? Upfield, Stansfield obviously takes the touch and swivels and plays it out to Baku, plays it out to the left. I guess, do you want one of your centre halves to be tighter to Stanfield and stop him being able to pull that ball out the sky? Potentially, maybe. And then there's a overlap from Bacuna. He puts the ball into the hashtag corridor of uncertainty. Burgess kind of has to try and cut the ball out. I know Luongo is closing in on Stansfield and ends up sliding in, but I think if he misses it, it's a tap in for Stansfield, isn't it? And all the first 5 minutes, the hard work we'd seem to display coming out after half time, you kind of got that sinking feeling and you kind of think, okay, maybe it's not going to be our day today. I wasn't at that point. I still wasn't that concerned given the fact it was so early into the second half. But
40 minutes to go,
exactly. Yeah, we know what this team obviously is capable as we'll discuss in a minute. But I just kind of thought, that's a real kick because again, the crowd are up, they're singing, the Rooney chants are all starting from the home fans, etc. And you just kind of think, right, well, I guess you wanted those first 10, 15 minutes of the second half to really set out our stall, try and get our game going, keep them pushed back. But it felt like that goal kind of knocked the stuffing out.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, Joe, be too critical of Burgess, right? I mean, defenders have got to stop the danger. And, we've got for those who are watching, we've got the screenshot of the moment the ball is crossed in by Bacuna and as Seb says, Stansfield is pretty central. And if Burgess doesn't get there, it falls to him, doesn't it? And it's probably 2-0 anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, but like I say, it's I don't want to be overly critical, but it's a bad piece of defending if you slide in and put the ball into your own net, aren't you? You're sliding to put it there. It's not a massive criticism of Burgess because I thought he dealt with the conditions mainly well. He won a lot of headers there, but ultimately he'll look back at that and think he's made a poor attempt at the clearance, and it's because it's gone in. That's maybe a little bit ultra critical. But
go with the right foot rather than left, maybe. He's obviously lefty, but
he's the other side of the post. So if you just get a normal contact and it goes straight, it's going off for a corner. But he's trying there. Maybe the ball skips on in the conditions. I say it's just one of those things. I don't think anyone's going to be hauling him over the coals for that. It's just an error, a small error where because of Hladky's maybe gone a little bit over, is not expecting it, and it's just crept in. I say every goal is avoidable, and I'm sure he'll be more annoyed with himself than anyone else is, to be fair.
Jason makes a great point as well, Joan. You've got the shirt honouring the great man behind you as well. Hladky's save from Burke at 2-0 was pretty telling as well, wasn't it? And pretty well struck shot.
Yeah, it's just the ball in from the right-hand side where he gets in ahead of the keeper first, and I say Hladky out really sharp as we expect him to be. He's always out quickly and gets there and makes a great block. And yeah, that's the game there, isn't it? If that goes in, that is game over. And as he's done all season, he's pulled us out of a little hole there.
And before the quadruple sub, which we would absolutely will talk about, Seb, there's a moment where there's the bobbly shots that go in, and Chaplin's is probably the closest, and it's bloody unlucky, isn't it? When you watch it back.
It is. Yeah, it's the first time those front three kind of link up, isn't it? So they're playing out from the back. It's loose play from them, and Broadhead's onto it. He comes in, finds Chaplin Hurst with a did. I don't know if he dummies it or just gets out of its way. Chaplin's there, and kind of a combination of the defender putting him off, and then Ruddy sticks out a leg, doesn't he, and just gets something on the ball, and it seems to take forever to go past the post. And whilst at 2-0, when the second goal went, I didn't feel that it wasn't going to be our day. When that one went past the post so slowly, I kind of thought, right, well, this is going to be one of those games today. It was incredibly unlucky, but that was the first time we kind of saw those three really link up and show what they can do. But we were kind of saying I did expected a sub, at least one, maybe at half time. We were surprised it got so late, weren't we, before that quadruple change was made.
Yeah, I might have got a little bit frustrated at the lack of subs, but they did arrive, and is a thought to put to you guys, and you can shut me down if you like. If you know you're being substituted at the 70th minute, you're Chaplin, Luongo, Hurst, Broadhead. There isn't the incentive to lift your performance before you go off by players warming up, which is the case with kind of traditional subs, where if someone's having a kind of 6 or 7 out of 10 game, you're likely to stay on for the whole game, or at least 90% of it. Then when someone comes up and warms up who's in your position, that might give you a G up and a signal to raise your game a little bit. Does the fact that we know that we've got these fixed substitution points limit the impact, and it's just reliant on the subs making the impact rather than the psychological impact? Is that a factor, or am I reading too much into it? Do you get what I mean?
I think you might be reading too much into it there, because I think they are just going to be leaving everything out there, aren't they? I don't think there is a level of performance that they can raise themselves to. I just think that Hurst only has sort of 70 minutes in him, probably because that's all he plays, and you're not going to get 90 minutes in you unless you play 90 minutes each week. So it is just the case that he does that. But yeah, all the front players, they sort of press, don't they? And then they go and the next lot come on and have a go. Because in fairness, sometimes it's like 2 go off at once, another 2 there, and they want to get their goal because they don't want Marcus Harness to come on and score 2 goals to draw the game. They want to get the 2 goals themselves because they don't want to be looking over their shoulder for the Rotherham game, do they? To see whether they're going to be starting or not. So I think it is just it's just the modern game, isn't it? Now, I guess.
Yeah,
it's just making sure that all those subs are able to fit into the team and be fit enough and active and interested in the game enough to be able to come in and make an impact straight away, isn't it? Because they're so important.
Your analogy is an F1 analogy, which is, you're coming for a pit stop, you rag the crap out of your tyres so that they're, but I'm sure most people who don't care about F1. Seb, all the right changes for you at 72 minutes and the right quantity as well?
I think so. Yeah, Luongo was looking leggy, wasn't he? So it made no surprise to see the kind of energy and bustle of Taylor come in. Harness has played really well so far this season. Not really got his chance. Chaplin, Hurst, Broadhead, it wasn't really working. So it was no surprise whatsoever to see it all. The front three completely change out. I thought they made perfect sense. Like I said, I thought maybe we'd get one at halftime or so. I was surprised it lasted so long before they all came on, but they were the logical choices to make.
Were you expecting Hutchinson to stay on as opposed to?
I was surprised. I mean,
maybe Chaplin's always got gold in him, hasn't he? Or
yeah, Hutchinson for me, he was probably my choice at half-time to get hooked, if I'm being honest. I wasn't impressed with him, but that last 20 minutes, he was absolutely superb. So we weren't really, I don't know how much of it was us not using him in the first half and him not really being at the races in the first half. So yeah, I was surprised that given how they were cramping up and tiring, I thought, oh, maybe we see Jackson's pace in the right-hand channel pretty soon. But obviously McKenna knows far more about football than I do.
And Hutchinson is quite young. He's got the energy clearly to last the full game, perhaps as well. So,
and he's always an outlet, isn't he? That's the good thing about him. You know that he can always. He's got a brilliant touch. He can chest the ball down. He can give you an outlet any time of the match.
It was really interesting how he suddenly came much more into it or was much more effective when these subs came on. Seb, I'm going to blow your trumpet for you. I mean, you can obviously do it as well, but the 76th minute arrived, and at that minute, are you feeling a lot? And the substitutions have been made 4 minutes earlier. Are you now feeling right? We can now actually start to compete in this game.
Well, Rich, did you know that until yesterday, after 76 minutes, Birmingham had conceded 6 goals and we'd scored 7? So I did say it might not be a game.
Because I watched the pre-match show, Seb.
It might not be a game to leave early from. I just thought after their goal, after the Burgess own goal, the big save from Burke was the moment. But after that, they didn't really threaten. Their players were going down with cramp. Led obviously gets subbed off. They were looking like they were out there on their feet, whereas our subs kind of freshened things up. And whilst I don't think we had too many kind of efforts from before the first Harness goal, I thought we looked sharper. And you're kind of thinking, aren't you? Well, if we just can get one, anything can happen with this team. We know how we can finish games. And yeah, I was kind of more optimistic because they were making unforced errors. They were going down with cramp. They looked absolutely dead on their feet, given how hard they've been pressing for that first 20 minutes.
Yeah, more nuggets of gold on the pre-match show every week, Thursday, 8 o'clock, live and on demand afterwards. And you mentioned Laird. He goes off with cramp. Does his kind of geeing up, slow walk to the home support,
gives us a smile, doesn't he? Yeah.
Gets some abuse from the away end, Seb. But a minute later, the Birmingham City fans and their PA who didn't know who Dane Scarlett, Freddie Ladapo or Marcus Harness were, suddenly know all about them, don't they?
They do, yeah. So Ladapo picks the ball up, drifts inside. It's a strong challenge, but it finds its way to Clark just outside the centre circle in the middle of the pitch. He comes forward, plays a ball over to Scarlett on the left. Scarlett was really good when he came on. A few minutes before this first goal, he'd kind of played one blind, hadn't he? He'd gone down to the touchline, pulled ball on a cross. He hadn't really looked up, so I was a bit critical of him for that. But this time he does really, really well. He finds a space down the left-hand side, drops his shoulder, beats his man, rolls it across. Ladapo's there. Ladapo's sharp in the box. We spoke about Stansfield kind of coming alive in the box. Ladapo's there for the first effort, hits it, albeit straight at Ruddy, but Harness is there in the right place at the right time to poke it home. And at that point, you're thinking, right, well, 11 minutes of normal time. There's probably going to be 5, 6, 7 minutes, given all the cramping, all the injury stoppages that have gone on. We're probably looking at another good 15, 20 minutes of playtime here. Let's go for it and see what happens. It was a crucial goal at a crucial moment. Delighted for the 3 subs to link up. Like I say, Scarlett looked good when he came on. Ladapo starts the move, is on the end, hits the shot at Ruddy. And Harness, right place, right time. He's been so good this season. Last year, I was quite critical when he came off the bench. He would struggle to get up to the tempo in certain matches. I remember Sheffield Wednesday away. There were times I was critical of him, but this season he's been absolutely superb. And yeah, fully deserved that. And he gets even better a few minutes later.
Joe, you've advocated for Dane Scarlett, who's come in for a little bit of criticism, understandably. And I think we've tried to shed some light on the context as to why he might be struggling to make an impact, but really looked fitter, actually. I don't know. It looked weird to me. He was very direct with his running, obviously quite skillful to create the space to be able to get the cross in as well. But is he maybe got a future down that left-hand side, maybe rather than in a more central role for you?
Yeah, it's interesting because he's really sort of been solely a 9 when he's played, but for us and for Tottenham previously and for England for the age groups, generally he's played as a 9. I think he played a bit of time on the left at Portsmouth, but he came in and just really made things happen. I thought him and Harness had a really good understanding with regards to the sort of rotations they were making, because if you think, obviously he's come on the left-hand side and set up the goal from there. He then has a shot from that side where he comes in on that side and hits a decent shot which the keeper saves. And then for the equalising goal, he's right over on that right-hand side touchline, and obviously Harness has drifted over to cover on that side, and he sort of just holds onto the ball, doesn't he? And then just lifts that lovely ball through to Hutchinson, and Hutchinson just breaks away, drives right down to the goal line, puts it across, and I think it's Cameron Humphreys all the way up from left back, isn't it? Who's come on for Leif Davis, who's managed to get all the way onto that back post, shows the engine he's got on him there, and the ball loops up, and I say, what a finish by Marcus Harness.
Show you this image. Apologies for those on the podcast, but just look, not only the technique, but he's got very little goal to aim at from that angle, is he, Harness? Just the left-hand side. Not only is the technique spot on, but the placement is even better, isn't it?
And it's on his left foot. He's
on his left.
He's a right foot player, and that ball's dropping down for a long time. And he gets himself into a great position, and it's just brilliant technique, brilliant goal. And not just that, he's obviously elated. He's come on, he's made the difference. He's scored 2 goals. He's got us equal. He comes over to the Ipswich fans, celebrates, but slides straight up, straight back. We're going here to win this game now. We know we've got a good amount of stoppage time, and we want to win this. We want to win this game 3-2. And obviously it wasn't to be the case, but no, that was a brilliant impact from him. And like I say, the subs involved Scarlett with the ball through, Humphreys getting to the back post, and then Harness, the key contributor there.
Seb Birmingham had just made a couple of subs prior to that as well. Rooney has said in his post-match, I think someone put it in the chat, that the subs changed the game, but I think it's the case of the subs changing the game for both teams. Obviously, ours have got those goal contributions, but Rooney changed the system or adjusted his strategy for us, brought on picked a starting 11 that he knew was going to be able to do it. And the more players you take out of that team who know the drills, is it a case of he made life more confusing for everyone in that team? Or another thing to chuck into the mix as well, just look at the static nature of the defence for both goals. Is it a case that Birmingham's defence was always going to creak at some point?
Potentially, yeah. You spoke about it. They don't react well to kind of balls dropping in the box, and that's what we saw with that effort. Rooney was very critical, wasn't he? Comes out and says that their subs affected the games, ours didn't. I was quite pleased to see Stansfield go off. I thought he was a pest all day up front. He's a player I really do like. If we're looking to sign a striker in January, I'd have no issues if we went out and kind of got him. He's a really nice little player. I'm a big fan of his. And you just saw when, like Joe just said, we scored the goal. Brilliant technique from Harness. He grabs the ball. We all go back, and about 4 or 5 of their players are on their knees, aren't they? They're looking absolutely done at that point. Rooney was on his crouch down as well, looking like he was defeated. And you kind of think, right, well, there is a chance we might get something here. Their subs were completely ineffectual. Ours raised our game. And then, it's a good point from Jason there. Before the goal, they were running to the corner flag with 10 minutes to go. They were, it was like 81, 82 minutes. And they were trying to keep the ball in the corner flag. I guess that's a combination of being absolutely knackered and trying to buy themselves some time. It was an interesting strategy, but it didn't work out at all for them.
Yeah, in fairness to Birmingham, though, I did feel that they did react to the goal, though, and actually did, because after at 2-2, you think there's only one team going to win this now, but they did sort of force a corner, get down there, and Djukovic had a header, didn't he? And they did actually keep going and trying to win that game, as opposed to just panicking and just trying to shut up shop. So I'd sort of credit to them for that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Both teams had moments, but it's 2-2. I mean, probably what we need to talk about as well, Steph, having a few years of away days, including at Birmingham, where they were utterly miserable, to be part of a big comeback like that. McKenna signalled as much at full time as well as the players, etc. But it's just great to be part of some scenes, isn't it? In an away end, and it's been great. There's everyone at Birmingham City is a blogger. I think that was Jack's point in the Telegram earlier. You've got so many different angles of our limbs in the away end, but we forget how just brilliant those kind of moments are, even if they're to get you a point on the road. We'll talk about the significance of the point in a second, but just as a supporter, as a fan, these are the kind of moments we love, isn't it?
Absolutely, and McKenna's there geeing up the crowd at the end. They know how big a point that was, and I guess given how we all were at 78 minutes before, 1 minute before Harness scores his first goal, given how we thought, well, this is one of those games where we're gonna have to get out of town, regroup, and look to go again at Rotherham. If we beat Rotherham, beat Swansea at 6 points, it's still a decent week. That was kind of our mindset, I think, at that point. And yeah, those things at full time, it was very similar to Huddersfield. You asked me after the game, didn't you, and said what was better, that or Huddersfield for kind of the relief. I think that one was, because I thought we were worse yesterday. We weren't great at Huddersfield, but I thought we were worse yesterday than we were at Huddersfield. Obviously, being 2-0 down, coming back was crucial. So yeah, it's a really important point, and I think McKenna was making that point towards the end with his gestures towards the away end. He probably realizes that okay, we might have maybe not got away with one here, but we've shown character. We've running towards adversity, if you want to use the club kind of slogan. We've shown that. We've shown great fitness, and I think it was a great job all round that McKenna kind of wanted the away fans to recognise and enjoy the moment.
Yeah, Gary mentions the point. McKenna made it as well. Quite a few teams would have given up at 2-0 down, but we have, we've got the resilience, and as you said, the running towards adversity and all that kind of stuff as well. And Seb as well, in the context of, Fulham defeat was expected, wasn't it? Given the rotation, etc. But even the wins at Bristol City and Plymouth had kind of got a little bit of an asterisk against them, which was we weren't maybe at our fluid best. So to come from that different type of adversity in terms of performance and get that result, gives a lot of confidence, doesn't it, for the 2-game week, or the 3-game week we've got now?
Absolutely, yeah. The more I look back on it, I think it's a crucial point. Otherwise, Leeds win on Friday night. If we don't get that point yesterday, then suddenly there's a bit of momentum with them. Is there going to be a shift in things? But it just shows this side will not go away. We dig in, we're resilient when we need to be, and we can pull out moments like that. I do think we've been amazing since the last international break. One of the commenters at the start of the show said we'd looked a bit leggy, and I think that's true. I don't think we've been at our kind of free flowing best, but we're still here. Win at Bristol, win at Plymouth, win at home to Plymouth, and a decent point on the road to Birmingham. Follow that up with a victory against Rotherham on Tuesday night, and it's another continuing brilliant run. No matter what Leeds do, they can't get that much closer to us.
Yeah. Chris Rand, wash hands gesture, I suspect that is. If we score Tuesday night, we break an all-time club record. We've scored in 34 consecutive matches in all competitions. Elkenbagert's goal against Fulham kept that one alive. We will come to your questions. Stick a Q at the start of them. We'll come back, Joe. We'll do some bits. We'll come back to questions and stuff. Stick a Q at the start, and I want to hear what Joe's got to say in a second. But here's a word from our supporters at Innovation Labs.
Innovation Labs is business hub and co-working space with strategic locations across Suffolk. Our aim is to foster innovation, entrepreneurship, business growth, and the development of an AI centre of excellence in Suffolk. Monthly hot desks are available from just £79. For more info, head to innovationlabsgroup.com or contact info@innovationlabsgroup.com. Innovation Labs, providing support for businesses across Suffolk. Locations in Stowmarket, Ipswich, Sudbury, Woodbridge, with more to follow.
I can imagine Joe Fairs being like a coiled spring in that 30 seconds, so I'm going to come straight to you, Joe.
Yeah, just sort of following on from Seb's point about the resilience the team shows. This is now a club record for unbeaten games away from home. So that 2 goals at the end there, it keeps alive these records which are going. Obviously, Chris has just mentioned the record about scoring in every game. I don't know how many games it's unbeaten. I just saw the Statman's tweet yesterday. But yeah, an unbeaten away club record. And this team just doesn't know when to stop. They just keep going. And we look at it, and like I say, the Huddersfield game, we look at it as, we didn't play very well, but we got a point. Away points are good. It's only because we've been on such a ludicrous run for so long that we're used to just winning games where the reality is, if you win at home and draw away and you get 2 points a game, you get promoted. We're drawing these tough games, and it's not just that we draw the games. We seem to come away from them with good momentum, even though we didn't play well for a large portion of yesterday's game. We come away with 2 late goals, and we're the team that's comes out of that with the momentum to go into the next game. So no, it's all excellent. And you look at the points we've got, the sort of points per game that we're on at the moment. The fact we could be 10 points ahead of third come 10 p.m. Tuesday night, where we're 7 points ahead of third as it is. It's mental, really. And I don't know, maybe Ben talks about it a bit more from the sort of championship side. The thought that a team is just going to turn up and play well every week and do months at a time playing well. This is an attritional league. This is a league where you have to get points when you're not at your best, when teams come and stifle you, when you've got lots of different tests. That, like I say, Birmingham spent a lot of money in the summer. They've got a good side, and I know there's been a lot of sort of joking about Wayne Rooney coming in there and doing a crap job, but he'll be a decent manager there with the backing that they're giving him, and they're upgrading the academy back to Category 1 from Category 2, and they're, like I say, they're a decent side, and we haven't got Morecambe and Forest Green and Accrington and teams like that in this league where they just can't compete with us budget wise. These are all good teams. You look at the team sheets when they come out. Oh, he's there. Top Premier League loan players like Jay Stansfield, Ethan Laird, who was like $2.5 million in the summer that had impressed on loans. And I say this is a good point. This is, and I think that just because we've been on this amazing run, it doesn't always look it. But that was a really good point yesterday. Tough conditions, a tough place to go. Won one game there since 1986. So we should be, like I say, breathing it in. That's a good point. And if we go to Rotherham and follow up with 3, we've had a fantastic week.
Well, and the change we've got now at this point, start of November, is we maybe had the kind of with a surprise package tag, but everyone knows about us now, and we've got teams setting up like Plymouth, like Birmingham to stop us now, and that's a huge mark of respect. It gives McKenna a different challenge as well, but teams are now changing the way they face us to try and combat us, and it is going to be tough, isn't it? But as you say, just getting those points, and if we get over the line in May, no one will care how the points were won, just that they were won. So yeah, good stuff, Joe. I'm glad I came back to you. I felt sorry for you, kind of ready to go, but it was worth it. Let's have a look. Let's see how that draw works out in the context of the rest of the results this weekend. But Friday night, Seb, narrative for you out of Leeds Leicester?
Leicester, I thought, looked pretty ordinary. I thought they've got decent wide players, but we discussed on the pre-match show, I said I had a feeling Leeds would raise their game for this. I know it wasn't at Ellen Road, but a big game under the lights, and sure enough, they go there and get the result. And that's why, what Joe said a minute ago, that point yesterday is crucial, because had we lost it, let's say we lose it 2-0 or whatever, they've won the game. They'll see that as a real momentum shift, and they'll look to start chasing us down. So they went there, obviously did the business. Leicester, I thought, looked pretty ordinary. Like I said, Vardy, I think, had 10 touches, if that. They had pace and some decent players down the flanks, but nothing really, I thought, in the centre of midfield, despite Dewsbury Hall and Winks being so highly rated. So yeah, I thought it was a disappointing night for them. Big result that for Leeds though.
Elsewhere, Joe, Southampton are probably the team that have got. I'll look at the 5-game form table in a second, but left it late, didn't they? Bartosz Białkowski doing his absolute best for managerless Millwall, but yeah, Southampton are starting to click now, aren't they?
Yeah, they're a good side, aren't they? And it's more that the amount of quality that they've got in their squad. It was always they're always going to be able to put together a run of wins, aren't they? And they had that sort of poor run where we sort of caught them at the end of, where they conceded a lot of goals in a lot of games. But the thing about this league is that you win a few games, you can jump up it quite quickly. And they haven't drawn many games, have they? They sort of seem to lose or win, and that does help when you're trying to get up the league table. But I don't know. I don't fear them too much with regards to how much they've got to catch up on us, even, to be fair.
Okay, fair dues. Let's quickly round up the rest of the action. I mean, Bristol City won, Sheffield Wednesday 0 at Bristol City. Another team look at in temporary charge. They got the win over Sheffield Wednesday, stuttering around still, aren't they? Huddersfield 0, Watford 0 sounded turgid. On the opposite end of the scale in terms of draws, Plymouth 3, Borough 3. Anyone see the goals for Plymouth in this one?
Some amazing XG goals from Plymouth in that game, weren't there?
Up in for the first one. Go on, Seb. You describe the goals.
Well, the first one was, the Mumba one was pretty reasonable. The Finazaz one is a curler from the edge of the area, and
they
the Morgan Whittaker,
him, didn't they? Just
like
us of Whittaker, a week ago.
The Morgan Whittaker kind of the third goal is. Do you remember when was it Roycer put the free kick in at Charlton away in the end, towards the end of the first Premier League season? He goes past everybody and drifts in the far post. That was their third goal. So yeah, some high quality XG chances from Plymouth at home. Who'd have thought it?
Yeah, and Borough stuttering a little bit, but it's a tough place to go, as we know, Preston as well. Plymouth got put their rubbish run behind them and heaped more misery on Mark Robbins at Coventry. Rotherham 1, Coventry QPR 1 we'll talk more about. A lot of teams in reasonably good form cancelling each other out at Stoke, v Cardiff, Swansea v Sunderland, and West Brom, another team in form as well, beating Hull 3-1. Who wants to talk to me about Norwich 1, Blackburn 3? Joe, you were in Norfolk. You can.
Norwich are bad, aren't they? They are bad.
Flat, weren't they?
I wouldn't like. I don't think down tools is the right word. They just seem so slow and sluggish throughout the whole team. And I know the defence look a bit all over the place, but that starts from the front, doesn't it? The front players just don't sort of seem to press, don't seem to stop anything coming towards them. And then by the time they get there, they're sort of pulled around out of position. And I know I don't know, they look a weak team at the moment. I'm sure Wagner won't last much longer, and they'll come in and they'll bounce back a bit and they'll push themselves up more towards the right end of the table. But they look a long way off. They look like a team that needs to have a big hard reset. And I don't think Stuart Webb's done them any favours with his recruitment in the summer. It seems to be a bit short-termist.
Yep. Yeah. Well, Neil Johnson here, Chris Sutton on co-coms today for Sky, accused him of downing tools. Schmodic doing what Schmodic does for Blackburn as well. He scored some pretty good goals as well, but the Norwich defending very lousy, wasn't it? Let's have a quick look at the form table before I put the league table up. This is the 5-game form table, and look who's top of the 5-game form table, chaps. Despite the fact I was bemoaning maybe some of the recent form, it's still got us top of the form table, but the table that matters, we are still second. And that point at Birmingham, Seb, is a point on Leicester, as you rightly mentioned. But yeah, it's below the kind of top 5. There's just a lot of inconsistency and quite a few losses in draws in there, isn't there? And, our ability to maybe be more consistent is, the results are going to be, up and down. You can't sustain this hugely statistically anomalous form, but the consistency is pretty good compared to everyone else in the league, isn't it?
Yeah, we're not going to go away, are we? I think we're going to be challenging for that top 2 all season. It's us and the 3. We're slap bang between the 3 parachute payment clubs. We probably shouldn't be up there given budgets, etc. But we're not going anywhere. I think most sides are starting to kind of realise this now, and I'd imagine I think a little gap might open up between the 3 parachute clubs and us, and then a load of inconsistency for sort of 4th, 5th, and 6th downwards, I think.
Yeah, I just feel like the top 6 or 7 is starting to maybe open up a little bit, and we are getting into the meat of the season as well. It's November, guys, isn't it? So looking positive. Let's go through some of your questions as well and some of thoughts. Gary got a text from somebody called Sam Jolly. Harness, the poise of an apex predator, the eyes of a kindly woodland creature. I think that's a fair summary, isn't it there? What else have we got here in the chat? Lee talking about Rotherham's threat. We will finish with Rotherham, but mentioned set pieces and long balls. We need to be aware and ready for it. Hopefully our fitness and class will see us win. But let's get to the questions. Michael asking about Harness. Give us your thoughts in the poll on YouTube, the poll that crashed my broadcast at the start and made my excuse. I'm sticking with it. We'll come to that at the end, Michael. But interesting thought from Max about whether Harness could start wide right, play there for Pompey, allows Amari to come on as an impact sub. Joe, do you want to say that one?
I think he's moved away from that position, hasn't he? Though I think he's so dangerous and he's such a good presser of the balls. Firstly, and he's so good in those sort of areas when he gets it. He's really destructive, isn't he, in that position? And sometimes it doesn't all come off, but the way he goes on and he's getting assist goals every time he comes on the pitch at the moment, isn't he? So I'd say if like Broadhead is probably the obvious one who may miss out because he does tend to struggle to sort of string together 3-game weeks, doesn't he? So maybe he may be the one that misses out if Harness was to come in. But I don't think anyone could begrudge Marcus Harness a start at the moment. But he's doing brilliantly in that role as a super sub as well. So maybe that's going to be his role for the next few weeks. It's a squad game. It's not an 11 player team anymore, is it? It's a 20-player squad, and every player on the match day has a role to play, and those ones that are doing it are doing the role. And whether you're playing 25 minutes or 65 minutes or 90 minutes, you're all seen as equal, aren't you, at the moment by the fans and management team?
That's true. I've had a quick nose of the poll to Michael's question there, and 73% of the chat think Harness should start on Tuesday. So that's quite overwhelming. And Jason asking Seb whether Tuanzebe's ready for Tuesday as well.
Well, I guess if they want to get him in the side, he's going to have to get minutes in pretty quickly. So a 3-game week does kind of make sense. I'd expect it probably to be Wolford and Burgess. Burgess, I thought he made a few unforced errors yesterday. He wasn't at his best. He got spun on the halfway line pretty early by Stansfield, but I'd expect him and Wolford still to have that partnership. I'd be surprised if he were to come in. But at some point, if they want to get him in the side, he's going to have to get minutes because the FA Cup third round ain't going to be for another 2 months. So in a 3-game week, do you potentially look to drop him in and then bring Burgess back in for the game against Swansea at Portland Road on Saturday?
To Colin's point, there's a bit of a queue though, isn't there? Because Edmondson, might he come back in? Maybe
McKenna does do. McKenna does do this, doesn't he? They've got Fred Oddemyana who plays off the right, so potentially he's kind of a hard. That's the one. He's a hard running player, so we've seen McKenna make these kind of tactical decisions based on getting players running at Edmondson. He can therefore cut inside on his stronger right foot. So maybe we'll see. I guess he's behind.
The only thing I would say on that is I don't know exactly, but McKenna did say that he doesn't put centre backs on the bench normally, but Tuanzebe was on the bench yesterday and Edmondson wasn't. So is that Tuanzebe getting ahead in the pecking order, or is it Tuanzebe is more versatile that he could maybe play a couple of the other roles, so that's why he's on there? But ultimately, we've signed Tuanzebe to get him in the team to improve us, haven't we? So I wonder whether there is some sort of expedite to try and get him into the team a bit quicker. But who for? I think most people assume it's probably going to be Burgess, but is it going to be Wolfenden on the other side? Who knows?
Wolfenden hasn't had a rest, has he? He deserves one.
He never does after under McKenna, really. I think it's only sort of 2 or 3 games he's missed under McKenna.
True. Jason, will we be on Sky more now? They are guaranteed 2+ goal every game. It's guaranteed that Sky pick our game and it's 0-0. It's obviously we're on Sky Tuesday night, aren't we? But probably got a sense that some of the December games are going to be on Sky, aren't they? When do they get announced? Do we know?
Well, it's ramping up already, isn't it? We've got obviously the West Brom game after the international break is on Sky, the 5:30 kickoff, and then we've got the Norwich game, I presume, is on Sky at 12:30. So yeah, I guess we were kind of sparse in the opening few months of the season, but Sky have now seen how good we are, how we play, the entertainment. So the further we go into the season, expect more of these kind of fixture moves.
Read the league table. Joe, Clinton heard Bishop from Portsmouth being linked again today. Would he be worth a punt in January?
I think he's probably a very similar style striker to what we want in our system, isn't he? He works hard, he occupies defenders, he can pop up and score a goal. But I think I heard we'd asked about him in the summer, and the fee that we got back from Portsmouth was a bit of a you're having a laugh with that sort of figure. And they're now top of the league and pushing on for the Championship. So you'd imagine, unless his contract's up in the summer and he's not looking like he's going to sign one, that figure is going to have gone up, not down. So I think he's probably just going to be out of range for a sensible fee to get him out.
Yeah, indeed. A few questions or thoughts on our right-hand side, Seb. Greg talks about struggling without Wes or Brandon and Rob. Is it a coincidence that our form has dropped off since Burns' injury? Do you think we miss him, especially with how he links up to Chaplin? Talk to us about the right-hand side. Talk to us also about Harry Clark. We haven't really mentioned him too much. Your thoughts on his performance on Saturday as well, and whether Hutchinson and Williams comes as a combo now or not. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, Hutchinson and Williams have got that natural kind of link up. We all love what Brandon Williams brings with his passion and his energy and his aggression in the tackle. And when he's not playing, it is a bit of a drop off. I felt sorry for Clark yesterday. He seemed to be the kind of the scapegoat where in the first half no one really played that well. He's involved in the first harness goal. He picks the ball up in the centre of the pitch and plays a nice floated ball out to Scarlett on the left hand side to create the first harness goal to start the comeback. So I thought he got a bit of unfair kind of treatment. And we've got to remember as well, he missed a lot of pre-season. He's got an Achilles problem that's being managed. Wasn't great against Fulham on Tuesday night, but he was playing out of position. And yeah, to the point about missing Burns, I think we probably are. He's been pretty much ever dependent under Kieran McKenna. We know what he's going to do. He just started to hit a really good run of form, I thought, just before the injury, which is frustrating, obviously, that he's not around. Hopefully he's back after the next international break, because I think that link up with kind of Hurst and Chaplin and that directness that he brings to the side with the relationship with the right back is crucial to how we play. So hopefully he'll be back sooner rather than later. But I don't get some of the stuff towards Clark, if I'm being brutally honest, because I don't think anyone covered themselves in glory yesterday in the first half. And I thought he was just one of multiple bad players, and he gets a bit of a break off me for the Fulham game because he's playing out of position.
That's just because everyone loves Brandon Williams, doesn't it?
And we do miss him. It is a drop off. Yeah, Williams has come in. He looks shaky. People were writing him off, weren't they, after the first 2 performances he put in? But all of a sudden he's got in there. We love his energy, love his passion. It's a virus, isn't it? That is why he missed out. So hopefully he's back for Tuesday night. But yeah, I just thought some of the criticism aimed at Clark I thought was a bit unfair.
Joe, this is an interesting one. Polson, are we going through the dip in form that all other teams' fans kept saying we will have? To your point before,
I think probably people talk about dips in form, but reality all they mean is dips in results, isn't it?
Yeah.
They don't worry how you play if you get your points, and at some point we won't be top of the form table, but we've been probably in the top 2 of the form table for every 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 5 game period that you can put in the season. So yeah, at some point we'll be 8th in the form table rather than 2nd. But and like I say, the longer we keep this up, the more that the 8th is going to not matter, because we're pulling so far ahead.
Points on the board, isn't it? Yeah.
And like that, we've got so many points. You took, like, to be out of the top 2 at Christmas, we're going to probably need to collapse. We're going to need to lose like 5 games out of the next 7 or something like that. That's how far ahead we are. That's what's going to need to happen for us to be out of this. Like I said, we are very, very much in this race for the top 2 now. Playoffs are nailed on, and it's just a case of just push and see how far we can get in this top 2 race, and just trying to keep off the people behind. And I think, so I watched the Leeds v Leicester game on Friday, and the coverage talked about Leeds, Leicester, and didn't really mention Ipswich much, considering we were 10 points ahead of Leeds at the start of the game. And it did make me think about how maybe Plymouth fans were last season, where all the talk was Sheffield Wednesday and Ipswich, Wednesday and Ipswich, and they just quietly went about their business and just kept going. And then all of a sudden the league finishes and they've got 101 points and they've won the league. I think maybe we are the Plymouth of Championship this season with regards to not getting the coverage that Leicester and Leeds are going to get. But to be honest, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty happy just to be going about doing our business, thinking, oh, well, Ipswich is going to fall back soon and Leeds are going to catch him. Well, maybe we won't.
To that point, Chris asks, are Leeds the team for everyone else to fear? They were tracking Burnley's 101 points last season perfectly. Seb's talked about the Friday night situation. Is it Leicester's turn to have a bit of a stumble, perhaps? Are Leeds the ones with all the resources, perhaps? I guess
you look at the size of the club, don't you? The resources they've got, that front 4. I know Sinistera moved on, but they've still, Somerville comes in and picks up right where he left off. And they'll probably go out in January and make some key signings. But as Joe said, we've given ourselves such a great chance by the points gap that's there already. They're going to have to be almost faultless to catch us up. And like Joe said, we're going to have to lose, 5 out of 6 games, 5 out of 7 games. And we just don't do that under McKenna. So we've given ourselves the best possible chance of doing it. It's about now just simply either matching their results, looking to pull further away like we can on Tuesday night against Rotherham. And if we can keep them at arm's length, it doesn't matter what they do.
Agreed. A lot of questions in here, a lot about Rotherham and lineups and so on. So we'll talk Rotherham in a second. A lot of questions about hypotheticals, which I think we'll keep for another day. Worth, in terms of the topic of Harry Clark as well, worth giving a shout out to Jack Saunders, who wrote an excellent blog, which is available in our Telegram group, about the expectation of players, Ipswich-born players coming through the team, etc. So wholeheartedly recommend that. Obviously, if you want to join Telegram, there's a 2-week free trial and then a subscription thereafter. We've also got an exclusive Q&A coming up on Wednesday with ITFC Women's Lucy O'Brien, who we sponsor with a group of some of our subscribers as well. So plenty of reasons to sign up to Telegram. Also need to congratulate ITFC Women, who beat Cardiff 2-0 today, to book their quarter-final place in the League Cup as well. So great for them. Hopefully a home tie coming up. In terms of other bits and pieces on the podcast, worth again saying thank you to Innovation Labs for their support for the Flagship Show this season. Also our friends at Wear the Sport. Go to wearthesport.com for 15% off with the promo Blue Monday. Also, if you go head to our Twitter/X page, we have a Kieran McKenna t-shirt giveaway with our mates at Footy Fits as well. So retweet, follow, the usual jazz for that. Rotherham, Dave and I will be doing Rotherham live after the fact, straight after the game on Tuesday night. So do join us for that. Swansea pre-match. I think Joe might be part of the pre-match team this week. Bit of a switcheroo, bit of rotation for us. And at the usual time, this time next week, Sunday at 8 o'clock, we'll be back for the Flagship Show, talking all about Swansea. So do join us then. Everything you need, Blue Monday, itfc.co.uk. Seb, should we talk about Rotherham? Do you want to give us some bits and pieces of information as if we were doing the pre-match show? And Joe, feel free to chip in and give your thoughts as well. But state of play, Seb, is probably where we start. League position, results, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, 22nd in the league with 10 points, played 14, only won 2 games, drawn 4, lost 8, scored 13 goals and conceded 25. Lowest XG in the league with 8.7 versus the 13 goals scored. So they are outscoring their XG quite considerably. Chance creation is an issue. They don't create many chances. The last 5 games are 2 defeats, 2 draws and a win. The defeats were especially damaging. Sheffield Wednesday was their first win of the season. Obviously, they beat them 2-0 at Hillsborough. They also lost to Bristol City at home. The draws were QPR at home yesterday and and Southampton away, which was a good point, obviously. And the win was Coventry at home. Their home form is much stronger. Obviously, that's relevant for us going there on Tuesday night. The home form, they've got 9 points. 9 of their 10 points have come from the New York Arena, New York Stadium. Whatever it's called. Yeah, stadium.
90% of their points from home.
Yeah, they are a stronger side at home. And yesterday was a bit of a damaging one. I think it was a 1-1 kind of 1-1 draw at home to QPR. QPR had lost 6 on the bounce. They'd appointed a new manager, so I guess you get that new manager kind of bounce. It was an absolute worldie from Elias Chair. There were a couple of big saves from Victor Johansson, the goalkeeper, to keep them in the game. They equalised from a set piece. The left back, Cohen Bramall, puts a deep free kick to the back post, and sub-striker Georgie Kelly kind of taps home. They hit the post from another corner. So like one of the guys in the chat said earlier, they are a threat from set pieces. They are now officially the most fast and longest direct side in the league as well. They've overtaken Huddersfield this weekend. So we know what to expect when we go up to Rotherham. You know, Jordan Hugo will be up front and be a pest, and he loves a bit of S-Housery, given his ex kind of Norwich connections. Cafu in the centre can take a decent set piece. They'll be a threat from those set pieces, but I think we go there with no fear whatsoever.
Joe, if you're Kieran McKenna, what are you thinking in terms of tactics, style of play, and lineup?
Oh, well, I think they're a pretty poor side when I've seen them, and I don't think they really know what they want to be at the moment. They've gone from Paul Warne and the style that he wanted. They tried to bring in Matt Taylor, try and be a little bit more expansive. They've seemed to sort of veered away from that. Their recruitment's been a bit of a mess with regards to signing players who end up injured almost straight away, like Andre Green is out for the season. It's almost like they've started shopping in a market where you're getting a slightly better player, but you're not then getting the resilience to get you through there. They spent a lot of money on Sam Nombe, but he hasn't really done anything as yet. It's just, I know, I think they're in a bit of a muddle as a club at the moment. You've just got to go there and you've just got to see them off for the first 10, 15 minutes, take over the game and just beat them. I think really it's not a game you should fear. It's not the Rotherham of previous seasons where we've gone away there and been comfortably beaten 2-0, 2-0, 1-0. And they're not that team anymore, and we're not that team anymore. And we need just to go there and turn them over, really.
They've got an injury crisis as well at centre-back. They had to sign Daniel Ayala on an emergency. I've never known an outfield player be allowed to sign on an emergency kind of signing. Normally it's goalkeepers, isn't it? But he's been signed because they've got Tyler Blackett, Grant Hall, Cameron Humphreys, not that one, their one. They're all out injured. Andre Green, like Joe just said, has done his cruciate, so he's out for the season. So, yeah, they've got issues at centre-back. And we go there with no fear. I think it should be relatively straightforward.
And probably the Sheffield Wednesday defeat, Seb, is the one to, admittedly away from home, and Danny Rail's first game. But that's the kind of level that Rotherham are at, isn't it? And you get a 2-0 defeat to a team that hasn't won all season. That kind of tells you the story. And to kind of Joe's point as well, Rotherham they're kind of maybe a top end League One club now. So they've done fantastically well to stay in the Championship. But the strategy, it's worth checking back on the pre-match show. We'll link it below. Seb and I spoke about Rotherham for about half an hour a few weeks back, and obviously it ended up being completely useless because the game was postponed. So a lot of what we were talking about there is relevant, but I think we talked about the club stature and kind of between a rock and a hard place, because you don't want to you can't outspend the rest of the teams at this level. And similarly, you know that there's going to be a load of dross below you that might keep you in the division. So it's a bit of a weird situation Matt Taylor finds himself in, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. Like Joe said, it's hard to tell what they want to be. They're probably the 45th, 46th, 47th best team in the pyramid, aren't they? Right at the top of League One, but not good enough for the Championship. Taylor's come out this week after the Sheffield Wednesday game before yesterday's defeat, and he says, I know my job's on the line, etc. So it's one we can go to, take control of the game early, and maybe look to put it to bed by halftime, hopefully.
Well, come and join Dave and I after the game on Tuesday if you are watching, and if you are driving back like Seb will be. And I don't know if Joe, are you getting to Rotherham?
I am heading to Rotherham.
There you go. So we'll give you something to listen to when you get maybe to Birmingham, and the M6 will have a podcast uploaded for you perhaps as well. So join us there or listen to it the morning after as well. Hopefully lots of positivity to talk about as well. Ahead of also Swansea next week as well. So pre-match Thursday, Flagship on Sunday. Join the guys for that as well. And thank you everyone for watching. If you haven't done so far already, give us a thumbs up on YouTube. We really appreciate that. Thank you to the folks on Facebook, Matt, Mark, Elliot, Jason, Stephen and Angela for supporting us over there. And Blue Monday, ITFC.co.uk is where all of the information is for all of our shows, all the links to everything you need, Telegram, merch, etc., etc. Head over there. Joe, do you want to say goodbye to everyone before I press the buttons?
Yeah, goodbye everyone. On to Rotherham on Tuesday. Hopefully another 3 points.
Seb, we won't do your usual rallying cry. You can just sign off in polite style.
Yeah, no, as Joe says, looking forward to Rotherham, looking forward to Swansea, and let's have a 7-point week.
The predictions have come in. We've got 3-0s, 1-0s, 2-0s. Hopefully, we are talking about a positive result on Tuesday night. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Apologies for the technical gaff at the start. Get well soon, Craig. And have a great week, everyone. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.